So in this tutorial, we're going to look at the how does the writer question, which could appear in Unit 2 or 3 of the GCSE English Language papers. So typically it'll be presented with a text here, in this case an extract from the Not by Mark Watson, and you will have a question which starts with the words, how does the writer? So in this case, we're looking at how does the writer show that Dominic, the narrator in this response, does not enjoy his first experience of a football match. As you can see, it's a high tariff question with 10 marks, and how does the writer question tends to be with quite a high amount of marks because of the skill and time needed to respond to it. The focus here needs to be on looking at the writer's craft, how the writer is presenting characters, situations, or relationships. So in this particular question, we're focusing on how Dominic does not enjoy his first experience of a football match. So you can see that's why we've highlighted that part of the question to be really clear on what's asked of candidates in this particular exercise. So when we are reading through the extract, we need to find evidence which supports the claim that Dominic isn't too keen on this experience. So we've got the revelation that he totters along nervously. We've highlighted that because it clearly indicates his lack of enjoyment. We've then got the sentence, I had no real enthusiasm for the game. And then later on, as the extract continues, we've got Dominic's concern that the crowd seemed to be gathering for some serious and frightening purpose. So we've selected some key points of evidence there, which will help us as we move on to construct a response. So when we construct a response, we'll start with the evidence in this case, so tottered along nervously. So we need to introduce this evidence now with a clear point. We've got Dominic's dislike for the experience is immediately evident. This is revealed by how he totters along nervously. Now, in order to make sure that we access marks for this question, we are going to need to accompany this with some analysis or an explanation. So if we look at the entire response, or the start of the response, Dominic's dislike for the experience is immediately evident. This is revealed by how he totters along nervously, indicating his nervousness and apprehension as he approaches the stadium. So we've packaged an answer there where we've got the three clear steps of the point, the evidence, and the explanation. So we look at the colour coding here. When we establish a point, we need to refer to keywords or ideas from the question. So in this case, Dominic's dislike for the experience of a football match. We've embedded and integrated evidence within our sentences that he tottered along nervously. And we should make the point here that quotations need to be concise and brief. Explanations or point of analysis should be brief, yet they do need to demonstrate an understanding of how the writer presents ideas. So in this case, how Mark Watson's use of the phrase tottered along nervously indicates Dominic's apprehension as he approaches the football stadium. And then one other useful point to perhaps consider is using temporal markers, like in this case immediately, to help track through the extract and to help structure your response. So when recapping the how does the writer question, some top tips. Make sure that you are constantly referring to the question to make sure you remain on task. That every claim you make should be supported by textual evidence, by a reference to the text. To access the top bounds, you do need to comment on the writer's techniques. So for example, if a writer does use a simile or metaphor, that you can select that and also explore its effect. That's really important. And by that same token, really, it's important that you don't feature spot, that you don't just say that there's a metaphor in line 3 and pick out short sentences or presentational devices. You shouldn't allow yourself to be driven by a device spotting approach, and you should try to answer the question and refer to techniques that support the points that you intend to make. So those are the top tips for the how does the writer question.